Okay, now I can put the link on Facebook so that they can join in and watch us crash and burn. I love that.
What the heck?
And burn as you. It makes total sense. Okay. And that's published. And if you guys can mute until I'm ready to get you in, that'd be great. Ah, look at this. They're all good. All right, so here we go. In 3, God help us, 2, 1.
Hello? Are you ready? Yes. Then we'll begin.
We're back from our self-imposed hiatus. We are going to be talking today about funerals, catching up on the voice of the people, and conventions that are coming up. So sit back, grab a cold one, and join us. This is Monday Morning Catholic, episode number 118.
6:30 Monday morning.
I'm not worthy! I'm not worthy!
Here's my number, so call me maybe.
I got a bad feeling about this.
Well, isn't that special?
What would you do with a brain if you had one?
The voice of the people cannot be denied.
Houston, we have a problem.
Do you hear what I hear?
Could it be Satan?
Please proceed with extreme caution.
It's good to be alive right about now.
Stand by to receive our transmission.
Well, if that didn't wake you up, nothing will. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Welcome back to the restart edition of Monday Morning Catholic. I am your host and moderator, Joanne Mercier. We are really glad to be back. It's been a crazy couple of months, and we'll tell you a little bit about it. And as we proceed, at least through the summer, we're going to be trying a few new things, like an opening and rearranging format and so on and so forth. So we're going to get your opinion. Don't worry. I never forgot about that Survey Monkey. I just had too many questions to ask you, and then I figured you wouldn't answer them while we were away, so we'll try again. So we're going to look of the same and different all at the same time. Boy, does that sound like us. Every episode will have a little bit different configuration of panel plus some new folks, and today we have those new folks. And of course, let's be dramatic about it this time around. So, as usual, my sidekick from North Providence, who lives here but works in Providence, Linda Reed from St. Thomas in Providence, Rhode Island. Good morning, Linda. How you doing?
The ubiquitous Linda Reed is
Here she comes with her English degree.
tucked under my arm. Yes. Yeah, it's good to be back. I did kind of miss it, so
yeah,
good to be back.
I have to admit I did too, but
yeah.
Been so much work. Speaking of work, we have Steve Romano back with us. Thank the good Lord, from St. Augustine's in Providence, Rhode Island. And if Steve can unmute himself, he can say hello again.
I'm here.
Good.
Hello.
And how was your first anniversary, Steve?
It was good. I had a nice big glass of wine.
There you go.
No, actually, it was fine. It was the year went by really fast.
Yeah.
So
I got good.
Yeah.
Now
it's been good.
we have a tag team down in Tiverton. Of course, we have our friend Nancy Smith from St. Teresa's and St. Christopher's, who's with us, but we brought along a new panelist, Steve Kirby from St. Luke's in Barrington, sort of close down there geographically, kind of, sort of. Good morning, both of you. How are you doing?
The southern part of the state.
Yep.
Same part of the.
Hello, everybody.
Hello.
And guess
Same
what,
part-
Joanne?
What?
Guess what, Joanne?
What, Steve?
Stephen celebrated his first anniversary at St. Augustine's I celebrated my 40th at St. Luke's.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh my.
yay!
Good for you. That's got to be. I got everything going now.
Like this.
Well, great. You know, I've never, other than my marriage, I haven't been 40 years in any one place. So that's about it. I was going to say that. So, gang, I'm so glad to be back. Seriously. I've seen you all, sort of. I've missed doing this a lot, but it's just the job change, and Steve will understand this. The job change has just been so crazy that I did not have the time to sit and put it back together.
Yeah.
So I'm just glad I finally got everybody running and got us on a schedule, and hopefully we'll try this for a little while every other week. So folks, we're not every week anymore, unfortunately. It just can't happen. You know? So we are every other week at this point. And I think that might be manageable for us and you all. That's what's important. We want to make sure that we're servicing the community, whatever's left of it.
Yeah.
Point. You know, the 12 people who've been following us constantly, maybe down to about 4. So we need to get back on track here. And we've got some things planned to get back on track. So hopefully this will work. We're going to go to sort of themes now instead of the great homily stuff we were doing. However, that might come back in a different form. If you really miss it, we will come back. We will go back to doing homilies, and we'll make everybody on this panel go right there. Notice Steve is like, I don't remember the homily thing, you know, trying
Me?
to format. Yeah, you.
Oh.
Just looked up at the right times.
Oh.
That's why I went after you. You know, it was something we loved to do, but it was. Tell me, was that a difficult thing every week trying to?
Well, it was fine for me when I was in my old parish, because let's face it, after 15 years, things just kind of run themselves.
Yeah.
But when I switched over, well, no, it's true.
I know.
But when I switched over to my new parish, sometimes during the homily, I was trying to do things.
Exactly.
Yes. Yeah.
You know, and I'd be like, oh, I should have been writing that down or whatever. So it is just, I think, and I know like Nancy's in the front of the church. So, Linda, you're in the front.
I'm in the front, but I get notes. Father John emails me.
That's fancy. I'm sorry, I didn't know that. So.
I can altar server whispers from
the altar server whispers.
There you go. No, it's interesting. The two Steves here both function in lofts, okay, and the two women both function in the front.
In the front, yeah.
So it's quite interesting. Me, I just run around behind.
And Stephen, as many years as I've been at St. Thomas, I sometimes still find myself doing things during the homily. So
Yeah.
you never know,
Yeah.
you know.
Yeah.
Sometimes I'm wrangling toddlers who are in the back choir room there.
That's very true.
Yeah.
But we were known for that, and I would like to go back to it on doing it a different way. So we'll see how it runs.
Okay.
But this week, as I said at the top of the podcast, we're going to be talking about funerals. Okay? Not like that. But a question came to us before we went on hiatus from Beth Ann. So that's going to be our... Oh, actually, before we do that, and I'm already jumping the gun.
Okay.
I want to get into it. But we don't know a lot about... Our community does not know a lot about Steve Kirby.
Getting to know you.
No. So we'd like to know a little bit about one of our new fans,
There you go.
Kirby. So yeah, Steve, and Steve, you have to know I'm going to play all kinds of crazy things. Just okay. A little bit about yourself, please.
I started out at St. Peter's Church 45 years ago.
Yikes. Okay.
Was there got married while I was there, and then decided to go to St. Luke's because it was much closer. And the ironic thing, at the time when I left St. Peter's, the pastor, who was just absolutely wonderful, is a gentleman who has passed away. His name is, he taught at the seminary, knew all kinds of priests, was a wonderful pastor. And when he said goodbye, don't go with your new pastor at St. Luke's. And here I am 40 years later.
Yeah.
So,
yikes.
I do three masses a weekend at St. Luke's, adult choir. We do a great big Christmas program, so it's a great ministry.
Cool. And you happen to be the proud father of two, and one of them is a local hero, so to speak.
Yes, Brendan Kirby on the Road Show every morning.
Yes, if you were. Go ahead.
And then starting Thursday at 7 p.m., pretty close to prime time, it's called Summer Superstars, starring the cast of the Road Show.
There you go. If you're in Rhode Island, that is on Channel 12, WPRI. And we've all been backing Brendan for years he's been doing this. So we're
Brendan's great. He's a real hoot.
Now we're glad his dad is getting in front of the camera.
Yes.
Yeah, we'll see.
Well, see, the reason why Steve and Nancy are together today, she's sort of showing him the ropes.
Yeah.
And then I'll finish showing him the ropes. He can be his own secret square.
Okay.
That's what we call this on Google Hangouts, the secret squares.
Okay.
Okay. All right. So I'm glad I did the introduction. I didn't want to forget that. We have no feedback, of course, except people missing us. So, hey guys, we're back.
Yes. We're very grateful that we actually had people missing us.
Yes, thank you. Because we got a little concerned.
Yes.
Okay. But we do want to move right into it because that's one of the things we've had a little problem with. We all sort of kind of want to talk to each other too. But this is also for you. So our opening segments now are going to be called
Tell me what's happening, what's the buzz? Tell me what's happening.
What's the Buzz?
Tell me what's happening, what's the buzz?
And every podcast we will take a look at some either question that you have, something that's going on in the church, because as armchair quarterbacks here in Monday Morning Catholic Land, we tend to look back at everything and figure out how we can fix it. And then no one listens to us anyway. So what can I tell you? This time we got the question from Beth Ann, and her question was, is a funeral necessary / required for Catholics, or can you just have a memorial service and burial? Now, all of us here on the panel have worked with funerals in one way, shape, or another over many, many years. We've seen a lot of different things. I will say first off that Catholics, it is assumed that a Catholic is going to have a massive Christian burial, unless there's some notorious, and I mean it has to be real notorious sinner, because even in the state of Rhode Island, a lot of Catholics are getting state funerals. So that's about, but it assumes, the Catechism and canonical law assumes that you're going to have a funeral, okay, a funeral mass.
Yeah.
So what does that entail? This is where it gets interesting, because a funeral mass, it's just like our wedding episode. We talked about the structure of weddings and what's appropriate, what isn't. Funerals take on the same type of framework. Okay, the things that are added are, the welcoming at the door, which almost looks like another sacrament. Can somebody tell me the answer to that one?
I know.
What is it, Steve?
Is it baptism?
Yes, it is. Very good. Oh, I hit the wrong.
Ding, 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 ding.
I'm looking for the bell. Thank you. Thank you again. Yes, it's exactly as if when the child is welcomed into the church at baptism, you're welcomed into the church at a Christian funeral, what we call a Christian funeral. And then Mass goes on as usual until you get to the end where you have a final commendation before the body is taken to the cemetery or the crematorium, depending on what the story is. We'll talk about that a little bit too. But in between, it's a regular Mass, so all regular Mass rules apply.
She also talked about as though setting them up as opposite one another, funeral as opposed to a memorial.
Right.
And the only difference between a funeral and a memorial is the presence of the body or the cremated remains.
Right.
When the body or the cremated remains are not present, it's called a memorial Mass.
Right. So say, for instance, somebody decided to get buried in Florida, okay, but the family wanted to have a Mass here in New England.
Yeah.
That would be a memorial Mass. That's the difference. Okay.
That happens quite a bit where I am.
It happens quite a bit where I am too.
Yeah.
For many, many different reasons. And we'll talk about that a little bit. But let's look at the funeral liturgy first. Of course, that's where I'll go as a liturgist.
Okay.
Let's look at the liturgy itself. Like we said, it's the same as a Mass, but families can choose from a different set of readings. Okay? Doesn't have to be the readings of the day. They do have to be from the lectionary, however.
Yes, but they don't have to be from the funeral book.
Okay. and we
here she goes.
Go down a wormhole.
The funeral readings. The funeral readings are suggested readings for funeral.
Yes.
But if there's some people who have a favorite scripture reading that doesn't happen to be in the funeral book, then they can do that.
But we must note that it should probably take on the character of resurrection, and the whole.
Oh, yeah, but that would be nice. It just depends on. Although there's a gospel reading in the funeral book that says, "Come unto me, all you who are weary and find life burdensome." That's not particularly resurrectional.
Okay. And one that's used quite a bit.
Yes.
I know. I just get, and I'll say straight out, I only get a little worried when they come in and they're looking at something that's like really like we want to use the gospel of, the birth of Jesus.
Oh, well, no.
Well, no. Let's take the parameter.
You got to use common sense.
Okay. Nancy, what was that?
It was like
I was just going to say, common sense for one person is not common sense to that's all.
Nancy, you're absolutely right. You're absolutely right, because there was a woman that died 2 days after Christmas, or her funeral was 2 days after Christmas. And what she wanted at her funeral was Christmas carols.
There you go.
And I said, I could probably slip one in somewhere. I'm not going to do the whole thing. The deacon suggested I do Dominic the Donkey, but I didn't think.
Oh,
Deacon Al, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say I'll be home for Christmas.
Yeah, right.
Worse.
Yeah, so we did slip a Christmas carol in there, but we did also use a Resurrection New Life themes.
Well, that's just it. So we want to make sure that, and as the liturgist, I just want to make sure that people understand that, yes, if you decide to choose outside of the suggested readings, that, yeah, it needs to fit the themes of resurrection, new life, eternal life, that type of scenario.
There's some kind of comfort also, which I think is the Matthew Gospel.
Well, and of course, the Ecclesiastes reading has crept in a lot, and I would hope put that into the next revision of the funeral book, because there's a time for everything unto heaven. I think fits perfectly.
Yeah.
But what
I've had a lot of people choose that recently.
Yeah, it is very comforting to them.
It is. It is.
So you got to kind of work with this a little bit. And again, in Roman law, if it isn't prohibited, it can be done.
Yes.
It isn't strictly prohibited. But again, when putting music into funerals, however, readings are one thing. Readings, most of the time, people will gravitate towards what hits them when they're thumbing through the suggested readings. Music, however, they usually come with a list.
I know.
And let's see, can we give the 5 most requested?
Amazing Grace.
How great thou art.
How great?
Be not afraid.
Great.
On eagle's wings.
Ave Maria.
That's it.
Ave Maria.
We got it. There you go. There's your 5. And folks, most masses. Oh, and the honorable mention goes to "Here I Am, Lord."
Yes. Yes. I have a 2-page both sides list that I give out to every bereaved family, and somehow they wind up picking the same 5. And Ave Maria isn't even on the list, but they pick it anyway.
And
Joanne.
Yeah, Steve.
A few years back, I got a phone call from a woman who was coming to sing for a funeral. And she said, I really would like to sing Ave Maria.
Yeah.
Oh, AV?
Ave Maria.
Okay. We'll talk about dealing with outside musicians in a
Okay.
That's the next thing that happens. But no, usually families will come with a list of music that is either very comforting to them or reflective of what they hear on Sunday Mass.
Or their deceased's favorite songs.
Yes. And that is very difficult.
Yes.
I think the most difficult thing that I have to say to a family is that song is more appropriate for the vigil service rather than for the Mass. And people get touchy. The biggest one they get touchy on, does everybody want to repeat it after me? Danny Boy.
Danny Boy. Although I haven't had much of that recently. No.
Well, I've had it in different variations now that there's 12 different sets of lyrics to it.
Yeah, right. That's true.
But it's still the Londonderry Air.
Yeah.
Okay. Okay, it's still the same tune. And
and that's probably all they want to hear.
Probably. And I don't know why that is so popular still. But I think it could...
Because we're not Irish.
That could be, Linda.
Yeah.
That could be.
You know, if we were Irish, we'd probably understand a little better why Danny Boy means so much. But there's not much of a reference to anything in the original lyrics. There's not much of a reference to anything related to church.
Right. That particular tune has had many different lyrics over the centuries.
Yes.
It has.
And we've tried. I think the Catholic Church has tried to put funeral appropriate lyrics to the tune.
Yes. But I still bristle a little bit.
Well, I'll speak for where I am. I never used to get that request in Bristol because it was not an Irish parish.
Yeah.
Okay.
But where I am now, I would say last year we had 70 funerals, I think.
Wow.
And I would say maybe close to 20 out of the 70, they asked for Danny Boy.
Yeah.
Wow.
I stumbled upon the May Choirs of Angels Lead You into Paradise.
Yeah. Okay.
And now I know that that's a more suitable text, but I still can't help but think that while I'm singing May Choirs of Angels, people are actually in their head hearing, "Oh, Danny Boy."
Right. And that's something that folks don't understand. or they do. I don't want to be so cynical to say they do and they just want it done. But you can't unthink music when it's attached to a certain set of lyrics tends to speak. And if you attach another set of lyrics to it, everybody goes, huh?
Right.
You know, and that happens with hymns. You know, it happens with hymns too. If we take a set of like, for example, you can do Alleluia Sing to Jesus to the tune of...
Hymn to Joy.
Yeah.
And Heiferdal.
Right, because they have the same sort of meter. Now I'm getting into a hymn lesson.
Yeah.
The same syllable and metric syllables, you can put them. You use it with that tune, and everybody goes, huh?
Yeah.
Aren't you supposed to be singing Ode to Joy?
Yeah.
Same.
See, in our parish, we only use Heiferdal, so they wouldn't know Ode to Joy.
Right. But even like All Creatures of Our God and King, there's like 2-3 other sets of lyrics to that as well. So it's like, this is what happens. Anyway, so I'm sure all of us have had to say no to particular types of music.
Yes.
Funerals.
Or styles.
What, Nancy? Go.
Styles of music. Styles.
Okay.
Like.
Go ahead.
Recently, you know the story. Is it okay to tell? Of the gentleman that was an impersonator.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
He was an Elvis impersonator, and they wanted one of the Elvis stylized version of How Great Thou Art. And I talked with him on the phone, and his style was not, and explained why. And the man was extremely respectful. Came the next day prepared the way I asked, and he was a marvelous singer and a marvelous person, and everything worked out well. But sometimes, again, families don't understand what they're asking for.
Right. That's true.
And like you did, Nancy, if the staff takes the time to sit with someone and talk them through it,
yes,
you know, I'd say 98% of the time, it makes some sense to them. There's always that 2%.
Right. And it's easier when the musician can sit down and do this.
Except that a lot of people, though, I have to say, a lot of people put more weight behind what ordained cleric says than what Linda says.
Well, as one who had to step in, like in my parish, it's the pastoral associate, Holly, that actually sits down with the families to prepare funerals. When Holly's on vacation, it falls to moi.
Yeah.
Okay. Of course, Holly was recently away on vacation. I had 6 funerals.
Of course.
Naturally. Each one a little bit different than the other.
And you handled it like a pro.
Thank you, but it got a little hairy, to say the very least. But it's hard when you want to sit down with the musicians. Don't get in the middle of that. The musicians have all given a list of what they find acceptable in their own parishes, and that's what I have to deal with. I'd much prefer the musician to sit down with them.
Yeah.
Even if I know what to do, I'd prefer the musician do this. But I guess it falls to us as the pastoral associates or the pastor or whatever. So I know they sit down with them for weddings.
Yeah.
They should also sit down with them for funerals. Steve, you had something to say?
I'm impressed with one of our colleagues at another church who will go nameless. But the director of music calls every bereaved family and discusses the music with them personally.
Oh.
Which I think is a very professional.
Yeah, professional boundaries. See, that's how I look at it. I am not the musician at either Middleborough or Lakeville. So I feel funny saying, here are the suggestions. What would you like here? What would you like there? Because Henry and Stacy are perfectly capable of doing this. I don't want to put my, the way I do things out in front of them.
Do you have a list?
We do.
Okay.
You do, but I still feel funny doing it. But I understand what Steve Kirby's saying because, we shouldn't be getting in each other's hair, so to speak, unless we're going over there to do a funeral, and then courtesy should be we call the musician first. At least I think so. If I was to do a funeral at somebody else's place, I'd be calling them first saying, is this okay?
Yeah.
Do you have any issues? Do you want me not to do certain things? That's what I'd be doing. That type of thing. But
usually what happens is you wind up calling the priest.
Yeah, unfortunately. And that's not a snap, but that's just, they're usually the ones you can get a hold of. Sort of, kind of. Anyway, going back to the actual can you tell we're rusty?
Yes, we can talk
right now.
There's nothing wrong with us. We can talk.
We can talk. We just can't think. Anyway, because that's what's happening to me. I'm kind of like dot. But I think the worst request I ever got was My Way.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, and
I got the Notre Dame fight song. I just thought
that one
real tough.
I got My Way, and I actually turned the funeral down. I wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
Because I wanted My Way on the way out, and I'm like, wait a minute.
I didn't do the Notre Dame fight song either.
Anybody else get any weird requests?
I like to see.
What, Nancy? Say it again.
I'd like guitar, Linda.
On guitar, Notre Dame fight song?
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a great thing.
that.
I always plead ignorance. It's like, oh, I didn't know that. Can you choose something else?
It's only 2 days. Can you choose something else?
Yeah.
Nancy, do you or Steve have any interesting songs that have been requested that you've had to turn down?
Well, that song, that funeral that I referred to a moment ago, the first song out of the mouth was My Way, and I said it's not appropriate.
Nope.
It's like you said earlier, if that's the type of thing, if you want to do with the vigil, if you want to do with at the collation, but this is not, the Mass is not the time for that.
Right.
And they were really very good about it, so.
Good. How about you, Steve?
Oh, Joanne, I wouldn't know where to begin.
Oh. Just give us one or two.
One or two.
I wouldn't know where to begin.
Okay. I'll take
I've
one or two.
People that have wanted to bring in a CD and play it through our sound system.
No.
You Are My Sunshine. Yeah.
All right, that's bad.
Somewhere Over the Rainbow. I could go on for hours on this topic. I could be silly.
No, you wouldn't bore us, that's for sure. But again, and before I make a comment, Steve Romano, what have you got in the Are You Kidding category?
Well, I think the big issue that nobody ever wants to talk about is most parishes have rules.
Right.
And yet there are places that shall remain nameless that will allow secular music and in fact almost encourage it.
Yikes.
Yeah.
And I will tell you, I mean, you guys always rag on me. I'm still the youngest one, and I haven't been doing this as long as most of you. But I'm 20. I'm at this point. I'm like 25 years in to regularly playing in church.
That's a good chunk of time.
That's good.
Well, I started when I was 14, 15. So
well, there you go.
So, but there are some times where I just I'll get a call to do a funeral, and and as soon as I find out what the music is, I say no, I'm not. I'm not available to do it.
Yeah.
Or whatever. And I've always been lucky to work for parishes that have been pretty strict about that type of thing. But I've also had the support of the pastor as well. So when things have gotten a little hairy, they'll usually say, well, this is the rule, but if you have any questions, I defer to our musician.
Yeah.
I mean, it's just. I think that's the biggest problem is it's not consistent.
Yeah.
It's consistent maybe 70%, but
And
the 30% that allow things, it's a problem.
Yeah.
But I as a
'Cause
musician
people-
going in somewhere, I'm not gonna. It's out of my authority, really.
Well,
So-
and then if Father will not back you up,
Right.
years ago, back in the 80s, when things were a little wilder and woollier,
Okay.
there was a lovely Irish lady who passed away, and the family wanted me to sing My Wild Irish Rose, which was, of course, her name. And the priest who was in residence at the time, that's how long ago it was. We used to have a priest in residence. Knew the family, was also Irish, and said, do it. Now, I didn't have a leg to stand on at that point because the family wanted it, and the priest said it was okay, and I was still new enough to this to say, well, what can I do, So we had My Wild Irish Rose.
And I can understand Steve's frustration. Go ahead.
Joanne, I guess, being Irish, I would have to say I, over the years, have had a request for When Irish Eyes Are Smiling.
Yes.
Uh-huh.
And I have talked to her. And sometimes we will accommodate by only playing it at the very end of Mass.
Yeah.
That works.
That seems not what it is. It's like Stephen said before, you might be saying words, but the words to Danny Boy are running through everyone's head.
Yeah.
I think it's the same thing. So to accommodate, I will play it as an instrumental going out of church.
Yeah.
But I won't sing it.
Yeah.
And that can be a compromise that works.
Yeah.
Because technically the Mass is over at that point.
Right. Because
Yes.
you're going to the place of rest.
Yeah.
So you can hear that. But what happens, and I think Steve has kind of given us the frustration that we all have.
Yeah.
They will experience a funeral somewhere that will not be as put together
Yeah.
as it should be. With different things allowed and not allowed, and sometimes a reading from Khalil Gibran.
Yeah.
And this we will not discuss, the 15-minute eulogy.
Oh no.
Okay, because
That is a component that people will change a parish site for.
yeah, they will.
Have the ability to come in and give a eulogy.
Yeah, and in Boston, we're very 5 minutes. We'd like to see it beforehand.
Yeah, but same with St. Thomas. But when the person gets up there who has already submitted their script to Father,
Yep.
and the person gets up there and starts improvising. So what are you going to do? Get a hook?
Well, if we've had a liturgical fan and a liturgical spoon, we can have a
We can have a liturgical hook, yeah.
I've heard, I think we all have, I've heard really beautiful eulogies.
Yes.
I've heard really awful ones.
Really awful ones.
And I've also had the experience where the priest has actually gotten up and stopped it.
Oh, jeez.
Wow. Yeah, I don't want to get too much into that. I just want to call attention to it.
Yeah, but I think it's just it's an experience,
Because I think families want to do something. Everybody's into personalization.
Yeah.
Okay, and that I think is the biggest problem whether it's a wedding or whether it's a funeral. They're into personalization because it gives you that. Come on, say yes to the dress. All this other kind of stuff. My big fat gypsy.
Yeah.
That all this other kinds of stuff. So they think they can come in to a church situation and say, well, this is how I want it. There are guidelines. And the reason there are guidelines is because everybody needs to be treated the same. Now, that gets out of hand when it comes to state funerals.
Oh.
But I'm not going there.
Let's not go there. That's a whole nother podcast.
You're a different beast. I don't think that's what Beth Ann is trying to get at. What Beth Ann is trying to get at is, I think that there are a lot of people now, families, that are opting for no mess, no fuss. Let's just have a mass, cremation separate, we're done.
Or let's people, like if the person that's deceased was a very good Catholic or practicing Catholic,
right,
and the children who are left are not,
right,
who see no value in this whatsoever, do not have a funeral liturgy for their parent who really would want one.
Exactly. That's the point.
You know?
Linda, and the proof of that is one of the first things I do every day when I read the paper is I read the death notices.
Yeah.
Just in case I'm going to have a heads up about someone calling me to cover, or of a parishioner whom I might not have known well, just to know whose funeral I'm doing. So when you read 15 to 20 obituaries a day, it never ceases to amaze me. They'll say burial at 10 a.m. There's no mention of a church.
Right.
Yes.
It's probably the burial of a spouse. There's no mass. The children just don't have it, and you see that like 4 or 5 times a day.
Yeah.
And it kind of really bothers me.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it does me too, because the person there's somebody who the church says you are welcome to have a Christian funeral. Don't want to say you earned it because that's not the right phrase.
No.
It is, it is assumed that you will have one, but the family doesn't know how to deal with it.
No.
They haven't been to church. They don't know what it comes.
The other thing. The other thing I wanted to say to you, Joe, and to the rest of the group, I've played in several churches where it's a very poor parish. There is an expense when you have to pay the musician. And there's an expense when you have to pay a church fee.
Right.
And I've said to several priests, if you ever have a funeral and they can't afford the musician, it's for nothing. I mean, there is a point in our ministry that we do more than just make money.
Right.
Oh, I've done that on several occasions.
I've done it as well.
Yeah. I've done it on several occasions. The church has waived the fee, and occasionally the parish will pay me to come and do the funeral. But occasionally, if I know who it is and would have been at the funeral anyway, it's like, no. We don't need, I don't need to be paid if these people can't afford it.
Right.
I mean, that's ridiculous to not have a funeral because you can't afford it.
Yeah, but see, what happens is at that point when people are grieving and they're trying to do the arrangements, they're sitting usually with a professional, professional funeral director, and the funeral director is saying, you need this, it's going to cost you this, it's going to cost you this. I mean, I remember that from my mom's 3 years ago, and it's like,
sure,
is on a short list, and do you want this, and do you want that? And then I can understand where people are saying, oh my gosh, I can't afford all this, there isn't enough insurance.
Yeah.
So what can we do without?
So let's just do a little service in the funeral home.
Yeah, but the funeral home costs more.
You
have to, and if you go through the itemized list, and I'm probably giving it away now, but if you go through the itemized list, I did not have anything in the funeral home for my mom because she did not want that.
Yeah.
And it was, I think, $800 less.
Wow.
Because I didn't. So what I spent at the church, I wanted to spend it at the church.
Yeah.
Because I knew how much money we had, and we dropped Linda and Steve. We dropped Nancy and Steve.
I was going to say, I think
they were having problems down there.
Yeah, they were.
I think so.
I hope most of you got what they were saying. We did. We understood a lot of what they were saying, but that is a bandwidth issue on their end, and I know because I used to work there.
Yeah.
So
Too bad.
it's a tough bandwidth issue. Hopefully they'll be back. But I think what Beth Ann, because Beth Ann is younger, she's just trying to ask us, can we just have the memorial service and burial? I think what happens is that even with all of this planning and extra stuff, it really is a comfort for the Catholic to be able to go and pray in a manner that they're used to praying. Even if they haven't been in church in years, they still kind of know which end is up. And ritual itself can be a comforting thing.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing.
And they're back.
And Joanne, can I say something?
Sure,
Yes.
Steve, go ahead.
It's I had a funeral this morning, and you could sort of get the sense that many of the folks there had not been to church in a long time, and I do think that certain places over other places do a better job with the issue of hospitality.
Yep. All right.
I think that's severely lacking still in most places.
Mm-hmm.
I know that there's a couple of parishes locally where for every funeral they actually prepare a very simple,
Worship aid?
yes, a worship aid.
Okay.
Every funeral.
Thinking-
Every funeral. And yeah, it's work. It's a lot of work. But I know I've seen it, and it's nothing elaborate or anything like that, but it's got some of the key responses in it and such.
Yeah.
That's
And I think part of the issue is, our priests are running around. They're they're very busy, and I think a lot of times all of this stuff is an afterthought. But I do sense that, I think, from what Steve Kirby said before about just having the funeral at let's say this a cemetery chapel, I think because the people know it's going to be awkward, they just rather not do it.
Right. No, I agree.
Yeah.
I agree. But again, if we can be more hospitable,
right.
Not every parish is going to be able to do a worship day. Not every parish is going
No, but I think every parish could make a little bit of an effort at doing something.
Yes.
I think that's a great idea, but I have a sneaking suspicion that if I brought that up at a staff meeting, you know who would be doing it?
You.
Well, yeah, and I know, and the parishes that I have seen it, it's the musician who that's part of their job, that they actually create this for every funeral.
Mm.
Yeah.
Once you do a template and you buy the permissions, music permissions.
Right. Right.
And I'm so glad Nancy and Steve are now closer to the router.
And back.
We're in the dining room. We have a better connection. That's what.
Yes,
that's what's
you do.
happening.
You look much clearer. Yeah.
Oh, I can see you both.
Yeah.
For those of you who
there we are.
those of you who are listening to this, it really doesn't matter.
Yeah, right.
For those in the video, it does. I think what we need to, and you hate to say it, Linda, because you're gonna, the minute you bring it up at a parish staff meeting, everybody rolls their eyes. But I think if we're going to be evangelizing parishes, which is that's the big buzzword where I come from. Boston, is to be an evangelizing parish. If we're going to do that, we have to do it at funerals, at weddings, at baptisms, on Sunday morning. It has to be constant.
Yes.
This is another time where we need to encourage. And one of the funerals I had, it went from I don't want to do a lot over a few days to, okay, I will pick this, that, and the other thing.
Yeah.
So it was, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
So it was one of those things where, and there goes the phone. You knew it was.
Yeah, that's all right.
Yeah.
And for me, as the default person who would probably end up doing all of these programs, as simple as you might want to make it, having the deceased name and that type of thing in the music, that's when somebody else will take over, whether it be family member or something else. We could have a picture there, and can you do this and can you do that? So now when you started with the simple something, maybe you're able to manage. Now
Right.
you have something that takes your day.
Yeah.
Get this piece and trying to get that picture, trying to get, well, it doesn't look quite right. We've got to fix that.
Yeah.
Sometimes as much hospitality, and I agree with you, Stephen, is a wonderful idea. On my end,
Oh, I know, Nancy. It's dangerous. It's dangerous.
it would be, I can see it be taken advantage of as well.
Right.
Yes.
But I think we still have to offer it. That's the whole thing. I think he's right. We have to make an effort somehow, because if not, they're going to keep doing the minimal.
Yes.
Because I also think there's something we can't control in society, which is this feeling of people aren't, people are dead, that's it, that's done.
Yeah.
There's a real, there used to be, a wonder of what comes next. Now, because of, I don't know if it's because of video technology or whatever, they think once you're gone, that's it. So we get on with our lives.
Well, never mind video technology. It's because there's a big gap in the passing on of the faith.
Yes. Okay.
All right? There's a generational gap. In the parents now who were not all that well catechized as children have nothing to pass on to their children.
Right.
Unless the church really makes an effort to go out to them, and even if they do, they don't always see a value in it because they're too busy going to soccer and basketball and everything else.
True.
Linda.
Yes.
You might find yourself in similar positions as myself in terms of having been at a church for a long period of time.
Yes.
It's not uncommon for me to know the person who has passed away.
Oh, yes.
So I'll make a trip over to Watson Funeral Home and go to the wake.
Yeah.
And the families appreciate it. They know who I am. They'll say thank you, and I say, well, whatever I can do to make this whole process easier.
Right.
That's a type of hospitality that fills a little bit of a gap for us.
Yeah. Yeah.
Also, my pastor is very good about welcoming everyone into church that morning.
Mm.
He begins the Mass, he introduces himself, he says, all are welcome, and let us share, this, funeral Mass today together. I mean, he's very, very inclusive, and I find that helps people a lot.
Yeah.
Mm.
It does.
It comes under the domain of hospitality.
Right.
It's good.
Engagement. It's the engagement of the community, of the staff, of the ministerial people, everybody continuing to welcome people in.
Yes.
Instead of, I'm hiring the church, I'm hiring the building, I'm hiring.
Yeah.
You've got to move from the one mentality to the other.
Yeah.
We're going to survive as church because they don't see us as communities anymore. They see us as a whole bunch of different things.
Yeah.
They don't.
Not a lot of them are flattering either.
Yes, exactly. So, Beth, go ahead.
I was just going to say the difference between celebrating a funeral with a parish community, all right, and celebrating a funeral with a church full of people that haven't been there in forever is as different as night and day.
It is.
When you celebrate a funeral with a bunch of unchurched people, you wonder, you're sitting up there wondering, why am I doing this? Am I doing this for me? Because that's what it seems like. But when you do a funeral with a church full of regular parishioners, because everybody knows the deceased and they all came, and this is happening quite a bit because I've been at St. Thomas a long, long time. The difference is palpable. The beauty of the ritual and the rite and the effect that it has on the mourners when everybody is singing and praying together over the casket, is just so moving. And me, who does, bunches of funerals, I never cease to be moved when we have a parish funeral.
Right. Yeah.
Linda, one of the things, and Joanne and Stephen and Nancy, one of the things that has happened to me is that I've had choir members who have died.
Oh, yeah.
Some who have been very devoted, dedicated choir members, and they've died. And one of the things I do is I have a ritual. It's only for choir members. And what happens is the whole choir will come back to sing. And then after communion, we have what's called a rose ceremony.
Mm-hmm.
Each choir member carries a red rose down, and they stand around the casket and they sing something together.
Oh, yeah.
And as they're leaving, there's a ribbon over the casket. And as they're leaving, the roses are placed on top of the ribbon, and the last person ties the bow around. That's our way of saying goodbye to a choir member. And believe it or not, we've done this 11, 12, 13 times.
Oh, wow.
But you're right, the whole atmosphere in church is totally different.
Yeah.
And when one of the choir members passed away, they had a very nice reception in the gym afterwards. And someone came over to me and said, I told my husband he has to join the choir because that was just so beautiful.
If only for the roses, huh?
If only for the roses.
Yes.
Exactly. Well, Beth Ann, I think we have kind of run the gamut on your question, but I hope you understand. I hope you answered it to show you that, and to show everybody that really it's a community coming together, and to be part of the community to begin with. If the deceased is part of the community, then absolutely they deserve to have the community send them forth.
Yeah.
To everlasting life. And even if it's somebody who is marginally in the community needs to reach out.
Yeah.
To that person, to that family, and do the exact same thing, because, again, that's what Jesus would do.
Yes.
So that's what we need to do. So thank you for your question. Again, we get a little crazy, but that's okay. We go a little long, too, but since they're every other week now, I'm not going to be as much of a timekeeper as I used to be. But I will move us along because, let me tell you, the voice of the people got very... There's a lot. And we're going to keep the section, the voice of the people, because you keep moving those things that we put up back and forth, and you like or don't like them. And you went way over the top since we've been gone with one particular thing that we put up. I was kind of hoping that they would like the liturgical hats more, but they didn't. Hey, what can I tell you? But they went after the restored rites again. And when we talk about the restored rites, the restored order of the initiation sacraments, putting baptism, confirmation, and Eucharist back into that order.
Yeah.
There are dioceses in this country that are returning to that order. None of them around where we live.
No.
But there are many of them, and there seems to be at least and they're gone again. They were in a good place too. I think a lot of people are interested in it. They're not. It's almost like we're interested in it, but not in my neighborhood. Sort of thing. We've talked about it to death, but I can talk about it a lot more because I've been promoting it for 15, 20 years on deaf ears.
Well, again, people are resistant to change.
No kidding.
Yeah. People don't want to change. It's like, you get your first communion at 7 and you have the party and you get the thing and then, you get confirmed when you're 14 and you have another party and they get envelopes with money and you want to take all that away and give it all to an infant?
No, that's not and that's incorrect.
But that's what used to happen.
Right.
The infants all got it at baptism.
That's the Eastern rite.
They were watered, chrismed, and communioned.
What we're proposing in the Western Latin rite, that yes, we still have infant baptism, but confirmation and First Eucharist would happen probably in about 5th or 6th grade.
Yeah. Okay.
Together, as a former DRE, but still working in catechesis, I see the best, the best of that, because it gives the child a little bit more time to understand what Eucharist is all about.
Yeah.
Yet it seals them with the gift of the Holy Spirit to go out into this type of world. If we hold that off, half of them don't come back for it.
Yeah.
So I'm all for putting it back into that some semblance of order, and then having a youth ministry type of program that will take them into their teen years.
Sure.
But I also, it seems to me that some parishes, speaking of, and this is like an off tangent, I know, but some parishes do much better with, some parishes do much better with retaining the youth and and keep continuing the youth ministry, and other places it just is non-existent.
Yeah. What the heck is that?
Joanne?
Phone calls.
Oh, okay.
Oh.
Sorry. And I have it on stun, but it's my husband who forgot
okay.
I was doing this today. So, no, I do understand. I do understand what you're saying, Steve.
Yeah.
If we, what I would like at least is the opportunity for it to be an option.
Yeah.
There are places that can do it well. Okay? We have many options under the Catholic umbrella. We have many things that seem diametrically opposed to each other, such as married Episcopal priests who could become Catholic.
Yeah, right.
And regular guys. So why can't we have, with the permission of the ordinary, parishes that do it one way and parishes that do it another way?
Yeah.
I mean, I still see that there is a tremendous amount that can be gained by going in this direction, because the old educational models for some places are dead.
Yeah.
Killing parishes. Because we're killing parishes trying to stick to that old educational model.
It's true.
And we're binding people's hands on, of course, your kids have got to go through 8th grades and then they've got to be ready to get confirmation. I don't want to do that to parents anymore.
Yeah.
And I just don't want to do that to them. But I also want to call them to, and when I say this, I say firmly that it should be 6 years of generations of faith.
Yeah.
For example. Okay? And at the end of that, the kid does the restored, confirmation Eucharist, and then goes into youth ministry for the remainder.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. Because then now it's two different focus. It takes it out of, you get all of the head learning, hands-on head learning, and then you do the relationship.
Yeah.
But do you think, Joanne, the issue is people just don't want to be bothered to making the change?
Partially.
Okay.
Partially it's not explained to them well. Partially it's pastors who are afraid of doing something like this.
Okay, yeah, that's actually what I was getting at.
Yeah. The tagline on the end of the creed, but we've always done it this way.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly.
Oh, Linda, I gotta write that one down.
You like that, huh? You like that? Yes.
I don't think Nancy and Stephen are coming back.
I was kind of hoping they were coming back in the middle of all this, but and folks, that's what happens. First day back. Let's see.
Joanne, is the connection at her church not strong?
It's the placement of where the router is. The router is on one side of the building, and your office is way on the other side.
Okay.
So you have to kind of get in the middle, and if that works, you're good.
Yeah.
It's possible anything. So today, let's put it this way. Today's episode brought to you by Mistakes Anonymous.
Yes, there we go. But we did talk about a lot of good stuff.
But we did talk a lot about funerals, and we did talk a lot about the voice of the people. That was the biggest one, was the restored order for sacraments, followed by that there's new auxiliary bishops in Boston. So we're happy. The Church
that makes people happy.
Is very pleased indeed that we have 2 new bishops, auxiliary bishops, who are wonderful. One of them, everybody might know, now he's Bishop-elect Robert Reed, the president of Catholic Television, who now has to give up doing Catholic television. basis, which is this. They've got to figure out who's going to, because he's been the face of Catholic television for at least 12, 13 years now, and done a wonderful job taking over from Monsignor McFarland. And Bishop-elect Mark O'Connell, who happens to be a personal friend of my boss.
Good.
So, and my husband had him for classes when he was going through his certification for being a finance and operations manager. Says he's a wonderful teacher.
Good.
So I think the Church of Boston is very, very pleased that we have 2 new bishops, and we have 1 retiring, and we still aren't going to have 5 auxiliaries, because we need 5 auxiliaries. There are 5 regions. Such is the way church works.
Yeah, well.
But we want you to continue, our friends out there, to vote up and down stuff that we're doing on Facebook, and we would love to have feedback. We really would.
I'm sorry, but all questions must be submitted in writing.
That's not true. Yeah. I don't care what Wonka says. You don't have to submit them in writing, but if you like to write, you can send us email at mondaymorningcatholic@gmail.com. We'll take your email. You can put up information or vote things up and down at our Facebook page, facebook.com/mondaymorningcatholic. You can also go to the website, which has been neglected, but I promise, along with the Survey Monkey for the rest of the summer, that I get those 2 things rolling, and that's at mondaymorningcatholic.net. And of course,
But here's my number, so call me maybe.
you can call us on that voice feedback line that we always seem to have, but no one seems to use. 774-955-0659. Now, the next episode is going to be a wrap-up of the NPM convention. The National Association of Pastoral Musicians will be meeting in Houston, Texas next week. And am I to say that that 3 of you are going?
I'm going.
Steve?
Have you made up your mind, Stephen?
Oh, yeah, no, I don't think I'm going.
Oh, okay.
I just, between, you know what, it's just,
Yeah.
I have weddings on both ends of that time.
Ugh.
So.
I know Nancy's going.
Nancy's going. I think Betty had to cancel.
Right.
Yeah.
So I think it's, and I think, what's his name is going from Massachusetts.
JR is going.
Yes.
I do know that.
Okay.
So at least 2 of our panel are going, and they promised me that they will talk to a few people.
We will try.
As we have done in the past. But
well, Linda, last time you were a force to be reckoned with.
I was. It was a force to be reckoned with.
Wasn't she now?
People saw me coming and they ran.
Yes, they did.
Oh my God, here comes that woman with the iPad.
Listen, I was just happy to get Dan Schutte.
Yeah.
You know, you guys do a great job when you're out there. And but what we'll do is we'll get together in a couple of weeks again, in 2 weeks, and we'll talk about what you saw and tell the rest of us about. I will tell those of you, however, who are home, so Steve, you probably need to know this, that the folks at praytell.com will be again live streaming part of the convention.
Yeah.
So go to praytell.com. I'll put that in the honorable mention section.
Yeah.
And go there, and they will probably have a list of when they will be probably all the plenum.
Yeah, they're probably going to do all the plenum, and they usually interview people.
And they do interview people. They have their own little segment and stuff. And Nancy just sent me a text saying she can't get back on.
Yeah, well, we kind of figured that.
Figured that out, Nance. Sorry.
Okay. No, that's all right. We're done.
Crew, we're done. It's one of those.
Houston, we have a problem.
You're gonna love the fact that I have that now, aren't you?
Yes.
Every time. But hey, look, for our first time back, not so bad.
We did good.
I don't have too many things to edit, but we just don't know when the show's going to show up. Whether or not I should put it on Monday.
Oh, okay.
Or if I should just put it whenever, because
just send out, the local Clarion and let us all know.
Well, every day is a good day to be a Monday morning Catholic.
This is true. I agree.
It's just, we're doing this as part of the new evangelization. We're doing this as part of extensions of our own ministries. We come here to give you our take on things, and you can take it or leave it.
Yep.
And most people leave it. So, where's my ring shot? But anyway, we thank you all for being here with us. I've got a couple of, anybody have any prayer requests? Because I love to do that at the end.
Oh, well, there's always so many people to pray for.
Well, while we've been away, there's been a lot of unrest in the world.
A lot of unrest in the world, but I have a prayer request in particular for my neighbor who is suffering terribly.
Oh.
And really with cancer and broken bones, and she's suffering terribly and really needs prayers.
Okay. And I have a prayer request for a family who are they're separated because of job.
Oh.
Husband's in one state, and
oh, jeez.
Wife and kids are in the other, and they're having a tough time both buying and selling their house.
Jeez.
So if you could keep them in prayers, that's rough. When you have to be that separated, and you got 5 kids, and
yeah.
So there's one there, and of course I know a lot of sick, ill people. So
yes.
So charming. Yes. Steve, you got anything? Okay.
No.
Don't have to. That's fine.
Again, like Joanne, there's lots of people that can use prayer. So
yes,
pray for everybody.
Yeah, we just urge people to even take 2 minutes morning, midday, at night, just to give it up to God and say, Lord, there is so much hurt out there. Please help the hurt.
Yeah.
And let us know that you're with us.
And be kind to people.
Yes. Please.
A little kindness won't kill you.
No.
It never does. It never does.
No.
Hopefully, if people still think we're halfway decent, we'll be back in 2 weeks with the next show and see if we can go from there. So, for Steve Kirby and Nancy Smith, the poor things who had a lot of problems, I'm glad they were with us. For Steve Romano, please keep coming back because we need the sanity. And
or the insanity.
Yeah, Linda, because I can't do this without you. Okay, and I'm Joanne Mercier. Thank you so much for being with us. And ciao for now. See you later.